Hey everyone, I need you to weigh in on something that's been messing with my head. Be honest, if you give someone a gift, is it still yours years later? And if they sell it, do you get to demand the money back? Because my ex seems to think so. In fact, almost a year after we broke up, he texted me out of nowhere, demanding $2,800 for a gift he gave me 4 years ago. And no, I'm not joking. Let me take you through how a beautiful but unused $3,500 present turned into one of the pettiest post-breakup fights I've ever heard of, and why I'm still not sure if I'm the villain here.
I was in a relationship with my ex, 29M, for almost 4 years. We broke up last summer, and I thought I'd moved past the mess of it, but apparently the mess wasn't done with me. This whole thing is making me question if I'm being selfish, petty, or just standing my ground. And I honestly can't tell anymore. We met through mutual friends at a trivia night. He was funny, charming, and very persistent. I wasn't looking for anything serious at the time. I just moved to a new city, was focusing on my career, and enjoying having my own apartment for the first time. But he kept showing up at group events, making jokes, finding excuses to sit next to me, and eventually asked me out. The early relationship was great. He was attentive, sent me good morning texts, cooked dinner for me when I had late work nights, remembered small details about my life. He was also into big gestures, expensive gifts, surprise weekend trips, etc. At first, I thought it was sweet, but over time I noticed a pattern. Gifts often replaced apologies. If we had a fight and he said something hurtful, I'd get flowers or jewelry the next day. When I tried to talk about the hurt, he'd say something like, "But I got you that necklace. Can we just move past it?" One of the biggest gifts he ever gave me was a custom electric guitar. I don't even play guitar, which is why the whole thing always felt odd. I had mentioned once that I liked how his looked and that I'd always admired people who could play. Months later, for my birthday, he surprised me with this very expensive handmade guitar from a boutique maker in California. I Googled it later. Retail was around $3,500. I appreciated the thought, kind of, but also felt weird because it wasn't something I'd asked for or even had the skills to use. He said, "Well, now you can learn." And at the time, I smiled, thanked him, and told myself I'd take lessons. I never did. The guitar mostly sat in its case, looking beautiful and completely unused. Fast forward 3 years later, the relationship was crumbling. Without going into every detail, I'll just say the big issues were communication, trust, and the fact that he was becoming increasingly controlling about my time, clothes, and friends. The gift as apology pattern escalated. Every time we had a big fight, he'd show up with something expensive. And the expectation was that this gift erased the fight. When I finally broke up with him, it was ugly. He cried, begged, promised to change, and when I stayed firm, he got angry. There were accusations about me throwing away everything he gave me and how I was cold and materialistic for not appreciating all he'd done. We didn't speak for months. I kept the stuff he'd given me, partly out of laziness, partly because I didn't see the point of throwing away perfectly good items. The guitar stayed in its case, untouched. About 2 months ago, I was doing a massive apartment decluttering. I'd been binge-watching The Minimalists on Netflix and felt inspired. I went through every closet, drawer, and storage box, asking myself if I really used or loved each item. The guitar came up, and I realized I'd had it for nearly 4 years, and in all that time, I hadn't even tuned it. It was worth thousands of dollars and just taking up space. So I sold it. I listed it on a musicians buy-sell group on Facebook, and within a week, a guy bought it for $2,800 cash. Yes, I know it was worth more new, but I wanted it gone quickly and didn't feel like haggling for months. I took the money and used most of it to cover a chunk of my student loans. I felt great about it. Lighter, freer, less tied to the past. Enter my ex. Somehow, and I still don't know exactly how, he found out I sold the guitar. My guess is mutual friends saw the Facebook listing and mentioned it. Out of nowhere, I get a long text from him that starts with, "So I hear you sold my gift." I'll paraphrase, but the gist was, He said the guitar was a special personal item and that by selling it, I disrespected his love and the meaning behind it. He demanded that I sent him the $2,800 because that's only fair since it was originally his money. He called me cold and transactional and said I'd proven that I only saw his gifts in terms of dollar value. And he also said, if you didn't want it, you should have returned it to me instead of pawning it off. I was honestly stunned. I stared at the message for a good 5 minutes because, what? Gifts are not loans. You don't get to give someone something and then claim the cash value years later. But he clearly saw it differently. I texted back, you gave me the guitar as a gift. I didn't ask for it, but I appreciated it at the time. Gifts belong to the recipient. I sold it because I wasn't using it. I'm not sending you money. He replied with a string of angry messages about principle and respect and basic decency. Then he said, this just proves you never cared about me. You just cared about what I could give you. That one stung. Even though I know the relationship wasn't healthy, I did care a lot. I put years of emotional energy into trying to make it work. Hearing him rewrite history like that made me feel like I was a villain in a story I didn't know I was in. Now, here's the part that's making me second-guess myself. A couple of mutual friends have weighed in, and not all of them are on my side. One friend said, yeah, legally it's yours, but morally it's kind of a slap in the face to sell something so personal. Another said I should have at least offered to let him buy it back. A third, bless her, said, he's just salty you got money out of it and he didn't. On one hand, I believe in the basic concept that once you give a gift, it's no longer yours. If he wanted it back, he could have asked during the breakup. He didn't. It sat in my closet for years. Selling it was my choice. On the other hand, I can kind of see how it might feel bad to find out something you gave, especially something expensive, was sold. Even though I didn't intend it as a statement about him, maybe it feels like one to him. And maybe I underestimated how much he attached meaning to that object. But also, and this is important, the guitar was never really about me. It was about him wanting to picture me a certain way, or him wanting to be the guy who gave big, impressive gifts. That's not my responsibility to maintain forever. It's been 3 weeks since the text exchange. He hasn't spoken to me again directly, but I know he's telling people I profited off his generosity. A mutual acquaintance even sent me a screenshot of him posting a vague Facebook status about people showing their true colors when money's involved. Part of me wants to ignore it and move on. Another part wants to write him a long message explaining in detail why this isn't okay. But I also know that would just fuel the fire. I'm also wrestling with the fact that deep down, I don't feel guilty about selling it. I feel defensive, but not remorseful. The money helped me. The guitar wasn't being used. I feel lighter without it. The only thing making me question myself is other people's reactions. So that's where I'm at. I sold a gift my ex gave me, and now he's demanding the money. I told him no. Legally, I'm fine. But morally, I'm honestly not sure. Am I the AITA here? Was I being disrespectful by selling it instead of offering it back?